Folks, you know it's a pretty good day when you have to ask yourself, will Trump be shitting his pants today out of fear or anger? And unlike Trump's silent but deadly bioweapon, the answer to that question is unclear. Because Diaper Don had one hell of a bad morning that only got worse when the much better looking candidate for president, Kamala Harris,
I'm a better looking person than Kamala,
went on Howard Stern today, and the two of them took turns tag teaming Donald Trump and absolutely torching his ass. But before we get to that, there's a little bit of embarrassing context we need to touch on briefly with regard to what Stern and Harris are talking about. Harris herself has been on a bit of a media blitz recently, with her taking up an opportunity to do interviews on The View, Stern's SiriusXM show, and a 60 Minutes interview that Trumpty Dumpty was too big of a little to participate in.
Then, a week ago, Trump backed out. The campaign offered shifting explanations. First, it complained that we would fact-check the interview. We fact-check every story. Later, Trump said he needed an apology for his interview in 2020. Trump has said his opponent doesn't do interviews because she can't handle them. He had previously declined another debate with Harris, so tonight may have been the largest audience for the candidates between now and Election Day.
And while the former Putty in Queef was busy whining about the unfairness of being forced to live in a thing you and I call reality,
I would like to take this opportunity to explain why farts are funny and queefs are not.
his vice president was busy attempting to defend him over recent bombshell allegations from Bob Woodward that Trump and Putin still secretly call each other for what I can only assume is either attempted treason or phone sex.
I wanted to ask you about Bob Woodward's new reporting, specifically about Trump and Putin's calls. Have you had conversations with the former president about his relationship with Putin and what those calls entailed?
I honestly didn't know that Bob Woodward was still alive until you just asked me that question.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
No, I've never had that conversation with Donald Trump in my life. But if Donald Trump, even if it's true, look, is there something wrong with speaking to world leaders? No? Is there anything wrong with engaging in diplomacy?
Right, sure, JD, great point, but let me answer your question with another. When Trump and Putin are engaging in diplomacy, as you call it, who's the top and who's the bottom? Cause I know Trump's Putin's bitch, but maybe he's more of like a power bottom?
What's a power bottom?
A power bottom is a bottom that is capable of receiving an enormous amount of power. Actually, Mac, you got it backwards. You see, a power bottom is actually generating all the power by doing most of the work.
Does the power have to do with the size or the strength of the bottom?
Alright, now that I've had my fun taking the piss out of Trump, a phrase I'm sure Putin has also said verbatim, let's listen to the first clip I have for you of Howard Stern and Kamala Harris absolutely demolishing Trump over his premature withdrawal from 60 Minutes.
Now, you're coming here, you went on The View this morning,
Yeah.
you're going to the shows, you did 60 Minutes. By the way, I thought what was so amazing about 60 Minutes is the fact that Trump turned it down.
Yeah.
I mean, it just says so much. He didn't want to be fact-checked. This is maddening. This is insanity. What do you mean you don't want to be fact-checked?
I think that, Howard, people ask me, what do you think is going on and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is an election that is about strength versus weakness.
Yeah.
And weakness as projected by someone who puts himself in front of the American people and does not have the strength to stand in defense of their needs, their dreams, their desires, the work that must happen to make sure that we are a secure nation, that we are nurturing and protecting our alliances around the world, that we are supporting America's military, that we are fighting to bring the cost of living down for working families, that we are building businesses, building growth.
Which leads us right into this next brilliant clip where Stern asks Harris about the Woodward report that came out today where Trump also secretly sent Putin a little gift of COVID tests during the pandemic, which Putin told Trump not to let anyone know about because it was their little secret. And Harris destroys Trump for getting punked by dictators.
Did you ever think in your lifetime you would see a Republican not supporting NATO and wanting to disassemble NATO? I mean, what world are we living in?
And
This is
NATO,
so weird.
NATO, which is the greatest military alliance the world has ever known.
It's what my
You wanna
father's
talk about
general.
strength.
Yeah.
That is strength to embrace that alliance as America, as Americans, and he would walk away because he admires dictators
Well, what did you
more
think?
than he does.
What did you
our
think of this thing that
allies.
just came out today? That Bob Woodward's book was saying that Trump was sending COVID tests to Putin, and Putin said, "Don't let anyone know." I mean, this is what is going on? What do you make of that?
So I actually said it even in the debate. I believe that Donald Trump has this desire to be a dictator. He admires strong men and he gets played by them because he thinks that they're his friends
Yeah,
and they are manipulating him full time and manipulating him by flattery
yeah.
and with favor. And so, in the midst, to your point, as reported by Bob Woodward, in the height of the pandemic, and remember, and your listeners will remember, people were dying by the hundreds.
Yeah.
Everybody was scrambling to get these kits, the tests, the COVID test kits.
Couldn't get him.
Couldn't get them.
Right.
Couldn't get them anywhere.
Right.
And this guy who is president of the United States is sending them to Russia, to a murderous dictator for his personal use.
We only wish Putin would have gotten COVID and dropped dead. I wish that.
Well, the point being, that is just the most recent stark example of who Donald Trump is, that he secretly sent COVID test kits for the personal use of Putin, of Russia, an adversary to the United States, when he was talking about Americans should be putting bleach in their blood. Think about what this is. Think about this person who wants to be president again, who secretly is helping out an adversary when the American people are dying by the hundreds every day and in need of relief. And instead, how did he handle it domestically for Americans? He mismanaged the whole thing.
And as if all of that wasn't embarrassing and humiliating enough, I have one more clip for you, where despite what Trump may think or want us to think, Howard Stern points out the cold, hard truth of who the actual law and order president would be.
I think that's some of the most important work that anyone can do, which is to require that we have a society that does not allow, in particular, for violence and that kind of behavior to go without consequence, serious consequence.
It's really weird, too, because to me, you're the law and order candidate. And yet they try to paint you like you're some leftist who, I don't know, who wants to have people running through the streets committing crimes. You were a prosecutor.
I have put a lot of people in jail. I have personally prosecuted everything from, child sexual assault to homicides.
And that is powerful because Donald Trump is at least one of those things. Thanks for watching, folks. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to Really American for more videos like this. We greatly appreciate you watching and your support. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.